Welcome. If you're a woman who has a sense that there's more out there for you, you're in the right place. I'm Whitney Baker, host of the Electric Ideas podcast. Somewhere along the line of work and kids, life carried on, but I lost track of my truth. I'm on a reflective journey, and that's what this podcast is all about. Each week, I interview a woman who is lighting her own path and offering others hope. Before our conversation ends, we'll share a reflective question for you to explore. Sometimes all we need is a jolt, a fresh idea, an aha moment that connects us to a sense of possibility. This, my friends, is what I call an electric idea.
Welcome back to Electric Ideas. I'm your host, Whitney Baker, and this is a mini jolt, a short episode where I share inspiration and tools to help you stay self-connected and lit up despite the many outside demands of life. And today's conversation is intentionally a super short share because I know firsthand what moms are up against right now with all of the holiday happenings and mental load of closing loops personally and professionally, while also usually feeling called to be the magic maker in the household this time of year. I'm sure many of you feel like you're just skating by right now. And in being in touch with so many women through the Electric Ideas community, I want to know that if this is you, you are definitely not alone. And I hope what I'm going to share in this conversation feels truly supportive. So today I am going to share two things. Number one is a pattern I've noticed in my own life and a practice that's really helped me pattern interrupt conditioning and ways of being that I've been pretty intentional about outgrowing. And then secondly, I'm going to share with you the most important mindset shift I have going through this December busy time that's really changing the way I relate to what many moms describe as a super chaotic time of year. So let's begin with the pattern. The pattern I've noticed is that holiday time doesn't only explode our list of to-dos as moms, but the stress and sometimes feeling overwhelmed or out of control tends to bring forth some of our most self-destructive patterns. For example, if you are a woman who overgives, overcommits, has FOMO, overdoes things all the time, or overcontrols, this season has a way of pulling those instincts right to the surface. And again, sometimes exacerbating them. So this is my gentle invitation to bring awareness to your patterning and see if you can meet yourself both with compassion and some pattern interrupt energy to help you break free from these sometimes unhealthy cycles. Particularly, pay attention to what happens to your mind and body and what choices you make when you are feeling personally overwhelmed. Let me tell you what this journey has looked like for me. To give you a real breathing, living, always a work in progress example, I want to share what this looks like in my own life. I'm very aware that when I feel overwhelmed, a part of me that feels out of control flips into this over controlling mode. And for me, it is my least favorite version of myself. I don't like how I act. I don't like how I feel. If I flip into this mode that I continually try to evolve past, but it's still part of me, it shows up with me trying to get my husband to do things without particularly conscious word choice, or getting snippy with the kids for not doing enough around the house, but kind of in an arbitrary, like, get your clothes off the floor type way. When I was overwhelmed, I'd slip into this kind of forcing energy, trying to knock something off my list, even when I felt exhausted, because this past version of myself and my nervous system baseline and my conditioning and cultural training, all of these things I've really tried to gain personal awareness around, told me that doing more and controlling more would make me feel more safe compared to resting or rejuvenating or pausing, which is what I actually always need if it's at all humanly possible during those moments. So since I have been entrenched in self-connection work for so many years, I know this shadow side of me so well that I've even given her her own name and character. So her name is Vicky. She's kind of a trashy, trash-talking degenerate. She pokes holes in my visions. She shames me for having a disorganized junk drawer. I think every woman has their own version of Vicky. I don't deny that Vicky is still inside of me and likes to pop into the scene. But what I've noticed is during times of high stress, she likes to just crop up and try to get heard. And because of the work I have done to stay self-connected, when Vicky comes up, I make her my friend. I don't deny that Vicky is still inside of me and likes to pop into the scene, but I am very practiced in noticing. So instead of ignoring Vicky and bypassing emotions of negativity or overwhelm or irritation, I instead acknowledge her. I thank her for doing her job because really she is just my ego trying to keep me safe and protected. So I believe all of you have this part of you, and it's a yucky feeling, but awareness is the first step to interrupting patterns. So the way I do this is I notice when Vicky's energy has come into the room. She can be in the room now, but she does not get to dictate my choices or how I feel about things. So I know this might feel a little out there for some of you. What if you just let it be a game? So in the coming weeks, inevitably there is going to be, a meltdown about a last minute gluten-free request at your meal, or something is going to come and you're going to hit that point of stress or overwhelm. If you know when you're in that point that your shadow is likely to start speaking louder, you can make a choice to not give her the mic. So, what I want you to do, I want you to just treat this kind of like a fun self exploration. Next time you feel that sense of overwhelm and stress coming up, can you almost name that part of yourself? I think Vicky's funny and it just like brings me levity. When I sense my Vicky side creeping into the scene, I do everything in my power to pause. And this is the most important thing. When I sense Vicky is on the scene, I proceed with caution. Instead of writing a passive aggressive text, I say, let me get back to you this afternoon. I really try to not do anything, to not talk to people, to not respond to messages, to not angry clean until I have reset my energy. What helps me is to say an intention, a prayer, whatever works for you. You can set an intention to connect with the universe, God, earth, higher self, whatever you want to connect with, and just say, please show me how to move through these uncomfortable feelings with ease. Show me how to come back to my highest self. I found for me personally, somatic interventions help me the most. I know for myself that a quick walk, journaling, meditation, dancing, tapping, a change of scenery, doing something to physically tend to my own energy and give myself a sense of groundedness, or just to get back into my homeostasis, if you will, is a game changer. Nothing great ever comes when Vicky is in the forefront. This also is just really, truly deciding for yourself that nothing matters more to the energy of your household in the holidays than the energy you are sharing. So even if it means you don't get certain things done, it is one of the most important practices of my lifetime to just decide when I get to a stressed or overwhelmed state that if it is within my power, I am going to pause and change my energy before proceeding. And this isn't just anecdotal. I want to be sure to share that science shows that when we are under stress, the brain defaults to its most familiar behaviors, even the ones we're actively trying to outgrow. So it's super important to be aware that holidays can be breeding grounds for magnifying some of our maladaptive behaviors as moms, many of which we don't even know where we picked up from. It could have been cultural stories about what it's supposed to look like externally to be a good mom during the holidays. It doesn't matter. What matters is how you feel as you're traversing all of this. So I hope you'll give this a try. When next time you're feeling that stress and overwhelm, maybe give it a name. If not, at least just see if you can pause and choose to pattern interrupt and then come back. I have a great podcast episode that I can send you that's even just about basically how to pause before you do what my mentee, David G, says, burn down the village. And it's just a very simple breathwork technique that you can use to regain your equilibrium. And this is a lifelong practice. But what I can tell you is when you pay attention and you catch these cycles sooner and you practice pattern interrupting, it becomes easier and easier to do because you've primed yourself to be like, okay, Vicky, nope. Thanks for drafting that text. Let's push pause. Let's regroup. Let's come back. So this has been a life-changing practice for me to really just notice, pause, shift, come back. So I hope that sharing this might help you tend to yourself wisely this month. Okay, so that was the pattern. The second thing on my heart to share with you guys today is this mindset shift that is deeply supporting me right now. I've been thinking about it pretty much every day since Thanksgiving because it does feel like for many women that there wasn't as much space and this kind of December energy came more quickly this year. So I've been thinking a lot about this cultural call to finish the year strong. I'm someone who pays a lot of attention to words. I'm a writer, I'm a reader, and the pervasive language around ending the year strong to me feels kind of like sports culture meets corporate culture meets a little bit of like patriarchal energy. It's a lot of language like push hard. This is your final sprint. And don't get me wrong, I love strong women, but this finish strong energy feels rooted in this kind of rat race, productivity, get one more thing done, push yourself through the finish line energy that my soul is rebelling against. I really want nothing to do with that energy right now in December. So I'm asking myself a different question. What I'm asking myself instead is how can I finish soft? I don't want to push and then spend the holidays exhausted or sick. Nor do I want to start the new year feeling like I'm in an energetic and cluttery hole. Because the reality is, even though I like fresh starts and fresh seasons and that excitement of the new year, however we end the year this year is how we are going to begin the year next year. So my invitation for you in these coming weeks is to ask yourself, what would it look like for you to intentionally finish soft instead of strong? And we acknowledge that we are going to require a lot more self-tending and self-compassion as we swirl in the emotional labor and logistics and layers and stress that December and the holiday season and the whole kind of year-end ethos sometimes provoke. This feels like a good time to mention, little sidebar, that my kids are off from school for 17 days. So just another reason why our schedules are really shifted and our time energy equation dramatically shifts. Hi, it's Whitney hopping in this episode. If you've been feeling stretched thin as a mom, giving to everyone else while your own spark fades, I want to tell you about something new. It's called Back to Bright. It's a personalized 4-week coaching experience for moms who are ready to move from scattered to steady right in the middle of the messy holiday season. You heard me right. Sometimes when we feel the busiest, it's an invitation to slow down the most. I'll work with you to realign your rhythms, eliminate energy leaks, and create everyday anchors that help you feel alive so that you can contribute to your family and your passions from a place of overflow instead of depletion. I don't want you to feel like you're just getting through the days. I want you to feel lit up and alive like you're actually living in your days. I've lovingly carved out time from November through January for a handful of clients that are ready to change their relationship with their everyday. Spaces are limited because I am very careful about my own capacity in the holidays and want to make sure I can show up 100% ready to support the women who are ready to raise their hand. You can find a link in the show notes for more information. If you have any issues or questions there, you're always welcome to connect with me on Instagram at @WhitneyWoman and drop me a direct message there. Okay, back to the show. many of us are already expecting much more of ourselves this season. And there's a mismatch because we have less time because our kids are more available. That's why I invited you to make a radical choice to watch when you slip into stress, watch when you get into overwhelm and to pattern interrupt. And now I want to share a little bit more practically, looking through my December through the lens of how I am intentionally choosing to end the year soft instead of strong, and some choices I have made because I think it might inspire you to make some similar choices. So last Sunday, I had plenty on the coulda, shoulda, mom holiday list that all of you guys have going. And I chose to do a half day yoga and creativity retreat in my town instead of finishing decorating the house. And I will tell you that on Monday, Vicky, let's bring her back into the scene. Vicky was not amped on Monday when the bough had not been hung across the fireplace. This retreat left me truly rested and jazzed and rejuvenated. On Monday, I was making this custom herbal tea that I brewed on this snowy day because part of this workshop was there's all these herbs and we could make our own tea. It was right up my alley. And my body felt good because I had really deeply relaxed on Sunday. So I had energy for my writing practice. I had energy for my family. I learned a new breathwork technique for when you want to add energy to your day. And I was laughing about it with my daughter at breakfast because this particular practice sounds kind of like a dog does when it pants because it's excited for food. So I'm just sharing this because even though I've been at this work for so long, I teach women how to ritualize this sort of deep self-tending. I had to give myself a pretty big permission slip to take a half day on a December Sunday to deeply tend to myself. And I want to be so deeply honest that I even felt a little guilty that we weren't going to like zoo lights together or, oh gosh, second guessing myself. But what I have learned time and time again is that claiming this space for yourself to rest and create and delight, even right in the busy, messy holiday season where I have plenty to do, knowing that it meant that some other things might need to get simplified or delay, powerfully reminded me that life flows with more ease when we deeply tend to ourselves. And nobody in my family really cared that we were kind of being leisurely about getting set up for Christmas this year and doing it in kind of comfortable little phases instead of in this crazy, chaotic sprint to the finish line in strong energy, if you will. So that's an example of what choosing to end the year soft looks like in practice for me. You'll have to decide what ending the year soft looks like for you. But it's really important to me in these conversations. I hope that I can share insights and inspiration from my work with clients, but also that you have something practical that you can do to kind of activate this immediately in your own life. It's actually become one of my zones of expertise when I work with women who, if they've been part of this community and soaking up all these conversations and tools, it's like they've had this awakening and they're craving a new way of being, but they really have trouble translating it to the practical realities of the demands of their everyday life as busy moms. So I hope you guys know when I'm sharing in an individual episode or I'm interviewing someone, I'm really intentional about making sure we share things that practically move the needle in your life and that you can adopt and try. So here's your practice. Look at your list of everything you're trying to do before the end of the year and see if there's anything that you can just completely remove altogether. The biggest gift I give myself is big blocks of time to myself. Some of this time is spent getting organized without interruption. A lot of it is spent just loop closing and not feeling scattered and messy and all over the place. Some of it is spent to deep tending and wanting to make sure I'm feeling energized when it comes time for my family together. So if this feels impossible for you, just try looking at your list first. If there's anything that will require more than an hour of your time, check in and see if it's still an energetic hell yes for you. I briefly referenced zoo lights before, and if you love zoo lights, you should do it. If zoo lights is something that kind of feels like you should be doing it because everyone else is doing it, but really it's like crowded and chaotic and eats up a bunch of your time and is cold and not that fun, then just don't do it. It's that easy. I'm really trying to walk the walk. This is a practice for me, but since I'm so focused on this month, I want to give you a few more examples of choices I've made at work and home this season based on using this wanting to end the year softer filter. So, starting on December 15th, my calendar is completely blocked from all unessential external calls and meetings for the remainder of the year. I'm giving myself, again, this time and space to close loops, but also to unwind and reflect and be in more of a visionary state for electric ideas versus swept up in just emails and calls and doing and that sort of thing. Those things are part of life, but I am not living in alignment if too many of my days just feel like a blur of unessential autopilot tasks. An example in my personal life, I opted out of hosting Christmas at our house this year. That's a pretty big deal. I love Christmas. I love most holidays. I love celebrating. I love gathering. And oftentimes we host my husband's side of the family. But it wasn't an energetic hell yes for me this year because I am in the early phases of writing a book and realizing the vastness of this commitment I've made to myself and to you all. Really, I hope one day it's something that is a contribution to my community. And I am craving deep, uninterrupted space to get into flow state with my writing before the end of the year. And that felt very much at odds with all the responsibilities that come with hosting an extended family Christmas at our house. So I give someone else an opportunity to do that this year, and I feel really great about my decision. I'm going to give you one more example from my life of how I'm using this, how can I end the year soft question to myself as a filter. So I know that it's super fun to feel festive and cheery and bright and your best when we gather during the holiday season. And sometimes that might look like picking up a new top or dress or whatever. I feel like women, especially for some reason, are always so stressed about what they're like wearing to things. And it's fine. It's okay. We want to feel good. It doesn't mean that you are superficial. However, today was a day where I have my schedule kind of built out and I have my non-negotiables for self-tending already on my schedule. And I had actually earmarked time to maybe poke around at a store and see if there's like something like fun and festive that I want to pick up because I have several personal and professional events coming up in the next couple of weeks. And sometimes, like I said, it's fun to feel good. I decided that it would actually help me end the year soft to just shop my closet, to let it be okay to rewear instead of trying to like frantically shop for something for yourself to wear. My best advice here in the lens of ending the year softly is to just give yourself space to actually get ready. It's not that novel. Almost treat it like a goddess ritual. Like, let it be slow and leisurely, not because you're trying to be a diva, but because you are choosing to end the year more slowly and you're done moving through your days as if someone's chasing you. You want to consciously arrive at places and greet people you love with grounded overflow energy. And to do that, given the reality of the season, you have to be super conscious of your time energy equation. I know these are two distinct concepts I've shared today, but they do have overlap. From a pattern perspective, bring attention to how year end and holiday stress might exacerbate your patterns and see how you can pattern interrupt. Starting to bring more attention and awareness to when you feel overwhelmed or like you're overdoing or overgiving, which you inevitably will probably feel at some point if you're a mom in December. If you're prone to overgiving, the holidays probably turn up the volume. If you're wired to prioritize others at your own expense, December is going to give you 100 opportunities to do it. If you're someone who drains your own energy to keep everyone happy, this season will absolutely ask you to do that again and again and again. The invitation is to notice yourself with compassion. Acknowledge that it's just a part of you that's just trying to keep you safe. Name this part of you if you want. Know that she can be in the room, but she's not driving the decisions. And see if you can tend to your joy, your self-connection, your rest, or your well-being in even a small way so that you spend as little time as possible in these loops that I know we're all working on outgrowing. I always end the episode with an opportunity for reflection. So this is part of the recap, but from a mindset and self-preservation perspective, ask yourself, how can I end the year soft instead of strong? I actually am such a words nerd that I looked up the definition of strong, and one of the definitions is intensity. I'm not calling for you to be apathetic or indifferent to your end or holiday season, but if I were going to choose who I want this time of year to feel for me, intense would not be my first choice. There's already been a ton of beautiful snowfall in Chicago where I live. The winter is calling me and most of us to slow down, to nestle in with hot drinks and blankets, to simplify, to soften, to greet this time of year with an eye toward what feels sacred and essential, and to tend to our inner light so we can share from a place of overflow instead of depletion. So I wish that for all of you. Thank you for joining me today. If you have any feedback or questions about anything I chatted about today, I'd love to hear from you anytime. You can message me on Instagram at @WhitneyWoman. And if you're listening to this and thinking, man, my group of moms or the women in my organization or me personally could really benefit from some guidance in 2026, please let me know because I'd love to see if I could be of service in 2026. All right, that's all for today. Hope you take good care of yourself this week.
I'm so glad you joined me today. If you're looking for more, feel free to connect with me on Instagram at @WhitneyWoman. And if you enjoyed the show, I invite you to support me by leaving a review or sharing it with a friend. Hope you have an inspired day.